Welcome to Latino Review's first look at the Lone Ranger script. There's a new big screen adaptation of the popular Lone Ranger character in the works. The Lone Ranger, a 1930s creation of Fran Stryker, is the story of a masked avenger from the Old West who seeks to help those in need. He's aided by his faithful white steed Silver and his American Indian friend Tonto. The characters were first introduced to the public in a 1933 radio series that ran for more than 20 years, becoming such a hit that the characters were soon featured in movie serials, novels, comic strips, and comic books. The character is best remembered for the half-hour Lone Ranger television series that began in 1949 with Clayton Moore playing the Ranger and Jay Silverheels as Tonto. Midway through the show's run, Moore had a dispute with the show's producers, and he was replaced by actor John Hart for 2 years. Moore returned to the role for the series' final 3 seasons, ending in 1957. The Legend of the Lone Ranger, the most recent attempt at a big screen adaptation, arrived in theaters in 1981, but it was an immediate flop. The film was severely flawed and the lead actor's dialogue was overdubbed by another performer. The film received bad publicity before it even opened when film producers filed an injunction against Moore, preventing him from doing personal appearances as the character. They gave a film cameo to Hart, Moore's TV replacement. The Lone Ranger was later revived for Saturday morning cartoons with Zorro, another masked Western hero. Then in 2003, a live-action pilot for a WB series was created. The newest version's story bore little resemblance to what had come before, and it was not made into a series. Chad Michael Murray of One Tree Hill played the Ranger, with Nathaniel Arkand of Moose TV as Tonto. Sony had been developing a big screen movie 5 years ago and even hired Jonathan Mostow as the project's director. Mostow has directed such action films as Terminator 3 and The Surrogates with Bruce Willis coming out this fall. By fall 2006, the movie had been postponed and Mostow moved on. In February 2007, Disney registered several Lone Ranger movie domains, raising industry eyebrows. In 2008, it was reported that Disney and Jerry Bruckheimer Films indeed had plans for a Lone Ranger movie. Terry Rossio and Ted Elliott, the screenwriters behind the Pirates of the Caribbean movie trilogy, were signed to write the script. Though a lead hasn't been announced, Johnny Depp has just been signed to play Tonto. Depp's grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee and he embraced his heritage in his self-directed 1997 movie, The Brave. At a Disney event at the Kodak Theater, Depp walked on stage to the tune of the William Tell Overture dressed as Jack Sparrow and wearing a Lone Ranger mask. But fear not, Ranger fans, because the Legend of the Lone Ranger will be in good hands and not be a comedy parody like Pirates. Rossio and Elliott wrote the Mask of Zorro movie, which successfully reinvented another masked Western hero. Rossio had lunch with Fred Foy, one of the announcers on the Ranger radio series, and Foy was enthusiastic about the co-writers' plans. Based on early information, it seems like the producers have every intent on being faithful to the Lone Ranger history, and the movie will include the character's origin story. Bruckheimer told MTV, "This version of the tale is getting back to the roots. It's all about the Texas Rangers and how they were created." The film is not expected to begin production until after the 4th Pirates of the Caribbean installment is underway, and it's hoped that Depp's participation will help spawn another blockbuster franchise. Latino Review was able to look at the script by Elliott and Rossio dated March 29, 2009, and based on the radio series created by George W. Trendle and Fran Stryker. So what's the verdict? For starters, the script is really good. Make no mistake, this is clearly a star vehicle for Johnny Depp because the character of Tonto is badass in the script. How badass is he? Tonto is a combination of the Last of the Mohicans' Hawkeye and Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Tonto is clearly the standout role. So what is the script about? Well, I'll tell you, Kimosabi. It's an origin piece about a Texas Ranger named John Reed who, along with his brother Dan, was part of 6 Texas Rangers chasing the Cavendish Gang. After entering a canyon known as Bryant's Gap, the Rangers find themselves ambushed by Butch Cavendish, the leader of the gang, and his men. 5 of the Rangers are killed, including Dan, John's brother. John is left for dead. Enter Native American warrior Tonto. Tonto rescues John Reed and nurses him back to health. In the process, Tonto digs 6 graves and buries the 5 dead Rangers. The 6th grave is meant to convey the impression to the Cavendish gang that they had been successful in killing the whole lot. Days later, John Reed regains consciousness. After finding out not only had all the other Rangers been killed, but also his brother, he decides to set upon a course of action that would forever change the destiny of the Cavendish gang. Reed vows to bring Cavendish and the gang to justice. Using material from his dead brother's Texas Ranger vest, Reed fashions the mask that will mark him as the Lone Ranger. In addition, the Lone Ranger decides to use only silver bullets, the precious and valuable metal serving as a reminder to the Lone Ranger that life too is extremely precious and valuable, and like his silver bullets, not to be wasted and thrown away. Let's not forget that the Lone Ranger is a buddy picture because Tonto has his own mission, which is the script's B story. Tonto agrees to help Reed find Cavendish on the condition that Reed helps Tonto find Latham Cole, who Tonto believes is possessed by the Wendigo, an evil spirit. Tonto tells Reed that the Wendigo is the spirit of the lands, the empty places that can abide in a man and force him to do evil deeds, then leave him for dead or insane and move on to another. Tonto has been after the Wendigo since he was 14 because the Wendigo consumed Tonto's family. Tonto vowed revenge, hence he roams the lands in search of the elusive spirit. Will the Lone Ranger avenge his fallen brother and fellow Rangers? Will Tonto finally get the Wendigo? We will find out when the Lone Ranger is released in 2012. Until the next episode, this has been Latino Review's first look at the Lone Ranger.